So a few weeks ago, when we were at our Emmaus convocation for the clergy of the diocese down in St. Vincent's in Latrobe, we spend most of our time on the campus when we're there at St. Vincent's at the Fred Rogers Center, because he's one of their claims to fame down there, right? Mr. Rogers. And so you always see, a lot. They have a little museum dedicated to him there in the center. You can hear about his life. But remember, he was a Presbyterian minister, and but he was a great supporter, though, of the Catholic St. Vincent College and Seminary there, and collaborator with them. But I guess it came to mind when we hear today's gospel, his classic song, right? I think this crew will know Mr. Rogers. I might have to explain it to the later masses. But grew up on Mr. Rogers, right? And we know that song, Won't You Be My Neighbor? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, right? But it's interesting because not to, completely discredit Mr. Rogers. I don't know that he exactly got it right, though, right? Asking, won't you be my neighbor? Jesus' response in the gospel today suggests it's not a matter of a choice of the other becoming my neighbor. My neighbor is the person in need of mercy today, right? And they don't have a choice, and I don't have a choice. Life circumstances present to me my neighbors, is what basically Jesus is saying. And you're called to love them. So some things I think we can learn from this great parable of the Good Samaritan. Obviously, lesson number one we probably hear every time, or we're very familiar with. The Samaritan, was the one who would not have been in a good place when it came to the Jewish people of Jerusalem. They would have avoided each other. They would have been unclean, so to speak, and to be avoided. So here we have a Samaritan who's overcoming any, kind of societal, even religious divisions, and responding to the neighbor that's presented to him that day. So not allowing whatever those divisions and differences we have to say, well, that's somebody that I rule out, even though they're in my life this day. I've come across them in life circumstances, but whatever it is that divides us, I'm not called to love that neighbor. They're not my neighbor. They are, and I'm called to show them mercy, right? The other piece of this is that the Samaritan didn't allow liturgical right worship to get in the way. That's what the Levite and the priest do. If they were to go tend to this guy, that would make them liturgically unclean. They wouldn't be able to do right worship, which is what their vocation was. And so you could argue they made, from that perspective, a decent decision. But Jesus is saying, no, the mercy, as we hear that theme in the Old Testament, repeatedly is pounded away at. God says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And it's not a total dismissal of the worship and the liturgy, right? We know that has its right place, but in this moment, mercy should have trumped that need for liturgical, rightness. And so we learn that lesson from the Samaritan. A reinforcement of that idea of, the neighbor being today close to me is in the first reading. Moses in Deuteronomy, God through Moses saying, this isn't some far off call that you have to live this law out. It's right in front of you. Reinforcing that idea, your neighbor is the person today who's in need of mercy, that's in your life, that will be in your life today. So we learn that lesson from Moses in the Old Testament. And but jumping back to this idea of, the Good Samaritan, the other piece that we learn from this is his, the fact that he also has limits to what he can do in that mercy, right? We have to discern. We can't be, mercy and love itself to everybody and everything in the world. So yes, what presents itself to me is a good start, but even that might be limited. I might not be able to give. The Samaritan doesn't give the next week to stay with this man. He provides for him. He gets him to a place where he can be taken care of. And then he says, I'll check back in. So there are limits. There are boundaries to what we're able to provide for others. And we have to constantly discern that. Because we know otherwise, it can overwhelm us. And, if we're trying to put ourselves 150% into every moment and, need that the people around us have, that can paralyze us and suffocate us. So we do what we can, but we respond in mercy. So great lessons, I think, very practical that God's word gives us today. So hopefully we don't ask others this week that we encounter if they'll be our neighbor. If they're in need of mercy and love, they are. So we don't spend as much time with the question, will you be my neighbor? We spend our time asking, how will I show mercy to this neighbor?